Ooh, doggy. Enjoy your nanny state, Joe Rogan. Enjoy your nanny state. Here, cheers to you. I know Joe Rogan and his libertarian friends, which, by the way, if you don't know what libertarian means, it just means they want corporations to run America. They say small government. Libertarians love to talk about how they like the role of small government. But if those corporations, if those private equity firms, if those businesses need massive amounts of money for bailouts, oh, then government's fine. If you ask those people, those libertarians about, you know, the role of government playing in women's rights, oh, then they want some government intervention. They're just hypocrites. But libertarians usually want corporations, businesses to be able to just do what they want. They want an unregulated market. And Joe Rogan's friends with many of them. I wonder if Joe understands that the people he supports do not care about him. Those billionaires, I know Joe made it to the 100 millionaire club, but they don't care about him. And we're going to talk about that today. Today, news, which is linked down below. Texas outlawed THC. They made it a crime again. Alyssa, what's going on? Oh, it's the bad news. Sorry to hear that. You know what? Life is swelled with bad and good news. And sometimes the bad news turns out to be good news. It just takes time to comprehend it. And sometimes the good news isn't always good news. That's the conundrum of life. That's what they say the mystery of faith is. I cheated on you? Listen, that happens. You're young. And it shows a lot about his character. A lot of people, when something happens like that, including myself, you know, you get cheated on when you're younger. And you think, oh, what's wrong with me? If I was this, if I was that. But it has nothing to do with the person who was cheated on. It has to do with the cheater. And it says a lot about them. So, I'm not sure what I did wrong. Exactly. That's my point. I knew you were going to say that. You did nothing wrong. Unless you cheated on him, which then it was like a messy situation, but I'm guessing you did not do that. What I'm saying is there is nothing you can do to stop someone from cheating. Cheater's going to cheat. It's within their own character that they have to decide that they are better than that, or they have to be more honest with people, or they can't resist the temptation because they're young, or whatever it is. But it has nothing to do with you. Officer Lucy Chen, I don't cheat. Yeah, I didn't think you did. Alyssa, I'm just saying, unless it was some kind of messy, sloppy relationship like that. But getting cheated on happens. It's one of those things where, you know what, you put it like this. If it's a newer relationship and he already cheated on you, that is actually good news. And I know that sounds weird, but it's good news because you found out sooner than later. You didn't go 2 years. You didn't dedicate a massive amount of time of your life, give him you know, have a pet together or something like that. You guys did not invest that much, and he exposed himself as a cheater early on, so it's a win for you. It was the day before your birthday. Listen, if that dude's cheating on you, he don't care if it's your birthday, if it's your anniversary. And you see this a lot with politicians and famous people. They cheat. Why? Because mostly it's like a narcissistic thing, you know? Their ego can't contain itself, and they're not ready to be honest or, hello, Officer Lucy. I see you. But Alyssa, I would, I would honestly, because you're young, I'm going to share this with you because you're young. You've been cheated on. You've been cheated on early in the relationship. It's a sign. It's not a sign. It's a tell. He gave you a tell. He said, this is what it's going to be like to be with me. Okay. And he did it early. So you should be like, oh, thank God. If you're going to keep texting him, text him this. Text him, thank God you showed me who you are early on. Peace. And that's it. And then go occupy your mind with something else. Get a good book. Find a good movie. Do something else that invests in you. Okay. Because he exposed himself, and listen, and if you do this and you truly like tell him, all right, thanks for showing me who you are, peace, he might even reach out to you, because all of a sudden you become the forbidden fruit that he screwed up, and he say, no, you showed me who you are. I have no time for people like that, you know, and I would rather invest. Remember, your time is an investment. So you tell him, I would rather invest in people who want to invest in me. And I'm glad you showed me now, as opposed to 2 years from now when we had built something together. So it's a blessing in disguise. All right, Alyssa, sorry that you got cheated on, but let me tell you, it's a blessing in disguise, because I'm telling you, if this was 5 years down the road, first kid coming, about to get married, and bam, you find out, guess what? Life ruined. That's a different situation. I don't have the same advice for that situation, okay? That one's a heartbreaker. And I'm not saying this isn't a heartbreaker, but time invested is a heartbreaker. And that's a different kind of cheater. Someone who could cheat when you've dedicated, invested that much time into somebody and you've built something with someone, that is a whole different level of fucking unreal human, you know? And you don't want to be with someone like that. All right, welcome to the live stream. I'm Rob. Sometimes I give advice, especially for the family members that are subscribers. Please feel free to hit subscribe. And if you have a question, I was thinking about doing this, you know, maybe doing at the end of the show, at the end of the live, take some questions. But people hit me up with questions all throughout. And I love it. I love talking with people. Listen, I'm an old head now, so I got the advice for you. Not all the time. And I'll tell you, I'll say, listen, I haven't experienced it, or I'm not well familiar, but there are times where there's young cats, you know. Jensen Hickey. What's up, Jensen? But there are young cats, and I feel like a lot of our culture has made young people you pay for their lunch and have to work, and not focus on like what really life's about, is developing your character and building a community and building your life out. And that's more vital than any 9-to-5 job you could ever do. I'm well. How are you, Jensen? I hope you're having an amazing, I don't know what day it is, Tuesday, whatever day it is. They're all, listen, us humans are so weird. We name the days for no specific reason. Think about it. Monday, does that really matter? Who gives a shit? We all hate Mondays. Let's just call it Flirps Day, you know? I don't understand this whole structural system that we've created. It is quite boring, if you ask me. And for the people who are working 5 days a week, or God bless you, 7 days a week, and just barely getting by, my heart is with you. And that's why I do this live stream. Flirps Day. Flirps Day. You can't hate a day if it's called Flirps Day. Let's face it, if we change Monday's name to Flirps Day, everybody would be like, you know, I'm kind of feeling Flirps Day. And if you honestly think about it, Monday, I know there's some ontological history behind it, but whatever the word is, but you get what I'm saying. Like, Monday is fucking, you've just heard it your whole life. So you're like, oh, it's Monday. But really, it's as pointless as saying Flirps Day to me. Okay? Thank you, Officer Lucy. Are you a true blue officer? Flirps Day. I'm just going to rename all the days. I mean, my son was like, why are all these days like this? And I was like, it doesn't make any sense. Grow up and become someone who can change the names of the days of the week. You know, let's change the Gregorian calendar. Shit's old as F anyways. Monday. We're calling it Flirps Day from now on. Taco Tuesday. What's up, CJ? Good to see you. Sounds miserable. What sounds miserable, Jensen? What I want to talk about today is the most hilarious news story in the history of the new kingdom we live under, Deficit Donald's kingdom. The Texas government passed a law last night. Remember, my teacher always said, they pass laws while you sleep. And why do they do it while you're sleeping? So you can't object to it. You don't see many protests that night. And if they do, be careful, they get a little rowdy. But last night in Texas, they outlawed THC. They made weed illegal. I like to call cannabis the proper term. But just to get my point across, Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, the pioneers of freedom, the real men's men. They're the manliest men of ever. Just if you offend them, they might whine and cry a little bit. They might play victim. But Joe Rogan, very much known for leaving Hollywood because of the woke government and people. And Joe Rogan lives in Texas. And guess what? Joe Rogan, huge pothead. Huge pothead. Joe Rogan has like prided himself on smoking weeds when it was back when it was illegal. I'm sure Joe Rogan probably takes some like pride in being like, I was an outlaw, a weed smoker. It's like, Jesus Christ, so we're a bunch of other kids. Shut up. But he prided himself on his early comedy specials that like he would smoke weed and think about things, man. You know, that old trope from the 60s. And he based a lot of his stuff. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you're not high, he's not funny. But Joe, who prides himself on smoking weed, lives in a nanny state. If you don't know what a nanny state means, that just means the government has to take care of you like little babies. You can't make decisions on your own. And Joe Rogan likes to call most of America a nanny state. Ironically, not the Republican or the fascist ones, but Joe Rogan now lives in a nanny state. Texas outlawed weed last night. So starting September, no more THC sales, which is, if you've subscribed to my channel for any amount of time, oh, what's up, UK, awesome. I love Europe. If you've subscribed to my channel for any amount of time, I've said for the longest time, I don't understand how in America, in the United States, we are united by invisible lines that create borders. And in one state, in my state, you can be a legal consenting adult and just buy cannabis. You could even be a medical patient and get medicine for a sickness in my state. And then you drive across this imaginary line that goes into the state called New Hampshire, where they have a sign that says, live free or die. Hypocrisy. And when you drive into that imaginary bordered state of New Hampshire, you're not a consenting adult. You can get into a lot of trouble for the stuff that you had in the state where you were just an adult. You could drive across the border from Canada into New Hampshire. In fact, all of New Hampshire's borders, every bordering state and country for New Hampshire, cannabis is legalized, except for in New Hampshire, the live free or die state, by the way. And I always thought that was hypocritical. And for all you deficit Donald supporters, you know, if he really cares about the people, he would legalize, decriminalize cannabis. He hasn't, and he won't. He likes to keep that one, you know, up his sleeve. He wants to play that card if he has to. You know, he got to send to law enforcement for a smelt something. That was the famous one. You used to get pulled over in the 90s, and they go, oh, I smell cannabis. And you go, ah, shit, we're getting out of the car. That was the old... what was that law called? It wasn't the stop and frisk. It was something like that. And it was horrible because they could just pull anyone out and say they smell cannabis, even if they searched your car and found nothing. It was just a ruse to you're the best. Thank you. Jet Cackle, I don't know. Texas sucks. Weed for the rich, but not for the poor. CJ, yeah, so we're going to get into that. So, Texas outlaws THC. I'm not sure the surrounding states, but I think it's hilarious that Joe Rogan loves weed, smokes weed with Elon Musk on a show. And I'm assuming at this point now, if they're smoking weed at his mansion in Austin, the cops will probably kick in the door or arrest him or fine him. Do you think that will happen? I guarantee it won't, because why? Well, he's wealthy. He's wealthy. The laws don't apply to the wealthy people the same they do as the poor's. I'm sure if there was a couple of black kids doing a podcast and they were smoking weed in Texas, the police would search them out and find them. But Joe Rogan and Elon Musk can smoke weed on his podcast, and I'm sure it will be no problem. Even though Texas just made it illegal to sell or have THC, and it's going into effect in September. So let's see. I don't know if anybody can write to Joe Rogan, but I'm going to write him and say, I'll tweet to him and say, you should smoke once it becomes illegal. Be an outlaw again, you outlaw. How's your nanny state treating you, Joe? But I don't think he'll get in trouble because, once you pass a certain threshold in money, the laws just become non-existent for you in America, which is horrific. That's how rich people get away with so much stuff. What the fuck? All right. What's up, Mind Boggled? Sorry, I had to block somebody for starting to dabble in racism. You can still ship THC to Texas. I don't know about after September. If you're caught with it, they criminalized having it. The first one is a fine, but it's a criminal fine, John Doe. And they said if you have multiple offenses, you can do jail time, which is effing hilarious. What's up, A1? We're talking about Texas. Last night, the news, link down below, Texas outlawed THC. No more cannabis sales. They can have CBD and CBG, but cannabis no longer being sold in Texas come this September. And I think it's hilarious because Joe Rogan, who moved from California to Texas, now Joe Rogan, the guy who complains about the nanny state, complains about the government, now has to live in a state where they outlawed cannabis, outlawed weed. And in most states, I mean, even the federal government, and I put this down below, the federal government, there's a Denver Post article, the federal government, the United States federal government has a patent on cannabis and its medicinal properties. And that patent's from 2003. So it's ironic that the government will put you in jail for cannabis, but they know, because they say, if you're unaware, it's a history of racism. That's why the government outlawed it, outlawed cannabis. And they made it a Schedule I drug, which means cannabis has no medicinal use, highly addictive, and it's the most dangerous. It's scheduled up there with heroin. It's obscene that it is, especially because now we have scientific proof and medical and doctor proof that cannabis is a medicine. And that's why many states like my own, like California, it's treated as such. You can just be an adult and go buy it at a store. It's insane to me that in 2025 in America, if you leave one state and cross an imaginary border and go into Texas with that cannabis, that same cannabis that I was just 21 years of age to purchase here, where I was a doctor's patient in my state, when you go to Texas, you can potentially be put in jail for. That is a nanny state. But more often, it's hypocritical. Democracy is hypocrisy, as Malcolm X used to say. Is it because Texas made the most money selling cannabis in the South? I don't think so. I don't know. I do know that my state has made so much money in tax revenue from cannabis. And the funny thing is the towns that voted no, because there were towns where they can't have shops because they had voted no. We passed it overall as a state, but the towns that voted against it do not have shops. You can't go to a cannabis shop in that town. And those shops also don't get, or those towns also don't get the tax revenue. And a lot of them changed their mind once they saw how much tax revenue was coming in. But more importantly, that it's a cure. There are kids, you can read about Charlotte's Web. It's a brand of cannabis that is CBD, heavy intensified CBD. A girl named Charlotte in Denver, in Colorado, these brothers made a strain for her because she was having seizures, multiple seizures a day. And when she took this cannabis, her seizures stopped. And I wrote that family many years ago, the brothers, and said, hey, can I get some of those seeds? I'll pay for them. And they said, no, secret genetics. They wouldn't share. The old cannabis spirit, overruled by capitalism. But it's an amazing medicine. That's what cannabis is. And it's got a stigma on it, especially from old timers or people who grew up in states where it was outlawed. You had to be an outlaw to get it on the black market. But it's just hilarious because in today's day and age, with the science we have, with knowing that the American government has its own patent on the medicinal properties of it, that still in 2025, you have states like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk's where they like to call home because of freedom. They don't have the freedom to just go to a store like I do, just go down the street and purchase cannabis. They can't do that. Coming September in Texas, cannabis purchases will be illegal. You will be an outlaw again. You'll have to get on the black market. Which it's also crazy because if you look at Texas, I was fascinated when I was reading about this because I want to hear Joe Rogan's reaction. If he'll blame the Republicans that are in charge of that state. There's Republicans who are passing this law, and there's a Republican governor who could veto the law. And it's just funny that the Republicans who want small government only want the small government to regulate things like weed, women's bodies, our rights, voting districts, gerrymandering. Like, they want a limited government, but that limited government has far reach to control what your choices are. But also what I was looking up is in Texas, it is one of the third worst states for drunk driving accidents. And I linked a article down below about it. I guess like Montana and one of the Dakotas, or those Midwestern states, still heavy on the DUIs, DWIs, the driving while intoxicated, whatever you want to call it. And that's the other thing. You would just think by now, by 2025, people would have more education on how dangerous it is to get behind the wheel after being intoxicated. But no. So Texas is fine with letting its citizens die from DUI. And totally fully embracing the beer culture. But when it comes to cannabis and that tax money and that medicine, they want to make you an outlaw. So there will be little kids who have seizures or have medical conditions in Texas that will have to travel out of state to get their medicine, because those little kids who need that medicine are outlaws in the eyes of Texas Republicans. Looks pretty legal to you with all the dispensaries. Well, you should read the link down below. They just passed it last night, and it's going to go into effect in September. In fact, that was part of these articles that I kept researching, is that it said it's going to kill so many small businesses that were selling THC or whatever regulated amount they could. But the more hilarious part of this is that Joe Rogan, pioneering freedomist, is that what you can call him? He is an absolute outlaw for the freedom of weed. And Joe Rogan, if you don't know, he moved from California, from Hollywood or whatever, to Austin, Texas. He has a huge mansion out in the sticks in Texas. And Joe loves weed. In fact, I don't think anyone who's ever watched him and laughed wasn't high. I mean, I think his audience depends on having weed. But poor old Joe, he's going to be an outlaw if he smokes on camera on his podcast. And I wonder if the authorities will enforce that law with a very wealthy man. We'll see. Is it 21 plus the purchase in Cali? I believe so. I was there when it was medical. I think I missed the full legalization. I was a medical patient in California. And in California, here are some of the different rules. In Massachusetts, when you become a medical patient, the government gets your info. That's one of the things where I never understood. I said, in what fucking world do you get a medicine from a doctor and then have to register on a government website? It's very shady and suspect to me. The nefarious reasons that they want your info once you get a medicine from a doctor. But here in Massachusetts, you have to register with the government. I loved in California, that was your privacy. What medicine you got from a doctor was not registered with the state, nor should it be. You know, if I got to get antibiotics, I don't have to turn around and go register with the state before I pick up my prescription. It's so hypocritical. It's so ancient and archaic. But yes, most states 21. Woody Harrelson gifted some bud from his dispensary in Cali, you said during the recording. Yeah, well, I mean, Joe Rogan is known. And I say, like, yeah, if you're a Joe Rogan fan, you probably have to smoke weed to listen to that guy talk. Just with all the propaganda. Propa Joe, that's what we'll call him. Propa Joe, Propaganda Joe. He's hosting many, many billionaires and millionaires and Mark Zuckerbergs and Elon Musks and giving you their narrative, how they're the victim. You know, and they just want a small government that's going to regulate your rights to smoke weed. And I just hope I think there's hope for Joe. You know, I think he needs to tumble from his high tower, his golden god status. And I think he needs to get back in touch with his roots. Because if you don't know, Joe Rogan is Newton's Own, Massachusetts. He claims to have grown up on food stamps and stuff like that by a single mother, and that, you know, well, if you're living in Newton, I don't know, but he claims all this stuff, and he used to say things that made you think he had a heart, and he cared about people being ripped out of their homes or deported or families separated, which is just basic human compassion, basic human empathy. And now Joe, once he got that $100 million contract, he seemed to have changed a lot, and his circles of people have changed. Now he has these really demented guests. He hosts these demented guests who want to feed the workers, the public, this narrative of how, oh, these billionaires are just victimized. They're just, oh, poor me. I have more money than I can do anything with. I've lobbied for all the influence I have, but poor me, poor billionaire. It's really, the problem is really the immigrants or trans people. Like, they scapegoat everything. And I never thought I'd see Joe Rogan do it, but money goes to your head, and then he's swayed. And it's like an aphrodisiac for Joe to be around Mark Zuckerberg. And that's what you get when you have an insecure person. I think Joe is kind of a little insecure. I think he doesn't show it much, but just the way he and Bill Burr communicated on Bill Burr's episode, you could see how insecure Joe was. And he kind of... Root bark. Woody and Bill Maher are trying to have a bar and dispensary. I hate Bill Maher so much. I hate Bill Maher is a fake fucking... He's just a Republican. He's a trans-publican. What does that even mean? Who is starting to dabble in racism? I blocked him. Somebody said something, and I won't do it. I won't tolerate it. So if I can catch it, I don't know what their name was because I timed them out. No racism in here. I won't have it. No transphobia, no homophobia, no misogyny. Listen, if you want to troll somebody, well, you know, if you want to go after somebody, why not go after the people making your life miserable? These billionaires, the politicians. That's where we need to focus our anger, folks. And that's why I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Joe Rogan. Of course, I will not listen to his podcast, but I'm sure it will be clipped, and he'll talk about this new law that just passed last night in Texas that says by September 2025 they're going to make cannabis and THC sales illegal. The small businesses are saying it's going to destroy us. Funny enough, Joe Rogan and Elon Musk complain about a Nanny State when they were, I don't know if it was when they were smoking on his podcast, but Joe Rogan's podcast takes place in Texas, which now if he smokes weed on that podcast in Texas, that's a crime. So I wonder if Joe will refocus his energy on the Republicans that he has so lauded as the saviors, the true free speech absolutists, the true ones fighting for freedom. But those Republicans in Texas just made your favorite plant illegal, Joe. And will you call them out? That's the funny thing. Joe has so much money. Why isn't he? If I had that much money, I'd be lobbying for mushrooms to be legal. Let scientists use mushrooms to study the effects of PTSD and its medical use for civilians. We know it works for Army members. We've seen certain science papers and doctors and stuff say microdosing magic mushrooms as psilocybin is amazing for PTSD and it helps people. And there's documentaries. And I mean, I would be lobbying for that shit. We had it on our ballot, one of our ballot questions in Massachusetts. You bet your sweet ass I was pushing for that. I'm not one who still imbibes, but if it is an ancient medicine that can help people through PTSD or some kind of trauma, why would you be against that? What is it? Just because you fucking don't like their posters, that they have black lights, lava lamps? What is it? You know what sucks? Racism's on your chat bait. Okay. We still need 2 docs versus just one in the micro before 18 to recommend MMJ in Illinois. Well, listen, I was talking about that earlier. Psychedelics reconnect you with spirit, nature. Yep. It does more than reconnect you with spirit. I mean, psychedelics are an ancient medicine. Think about shamans. Think about Jim Morrison. Think about shamans again. Think about ayahuasca and all the people who have testified to that. And I just know this from my life experience growing up. When you're younger, you experiment and you go on these magical journeys and you become a shaman for your friends. And you realize that it opens parts of your brain that, maybe you didn't use before. It helps you come to terms with things. They use it in other countries where people are close to death or have a terminal disease, and they'll help them microdose, and these people will come to terms and they'll live happier. It's just amazing at how these libertarians, these people who want small government, they don't want government in your business when it comes to a gun. But if you ask them, well, how about government in your business when it's women's rights or cannabis? They really show what prudes and what really they're just fascists in disguise. Fascists dressing up as people of democracy. And they're really not. You know, they want control over you. And the horrible thing is, like, at my work, you have to watch these gun violence videos, these trainings on what to do with gun violence. And I told my manager, I said, it's the most obscene thing that I have to watch a fucking video from $1 trillion corporation telling me what to do if something happens in my store. But these people have enough money, because you know they lobby to regulate guns. Like, they could fix the problem, but instead they're like, we'll just keep our hands out of it, and we'll just make a cheap ass video to tell you what to do, because God knows us higher ups won't be there. You know, we work from home. We have private jets. We'll never be in those shops. But if the violence comes to you, then we'll make a video to make you feel safer, to tell you to throw something or run. And I'm like, how about you just lobby to make it safer? If you really care about us, if you want to nurture our communities and nurture the human spirit, why don't you lobby to make it safer in this country? They have no problem. I can't fucking believe it. These people that are like, small government, don't put your hands on our guns, are like, yeah, it's fine. Don't let anybody have a ancient medicine that's a plant that no one's ever overdosed on, that can heal children from having seizures. You're like, that's fine to regulate. But my weapon that can take people out, that I have to watch videos at work about the psychopathy of other citizens because our communities are degrading so much because these billionaires and these corporations are just running us into the ground. I'm okay with that. It's so crazy, man. It's so crazy. Officer Lucy, you can always say something. It just depends what you say. Guess that these guys who cucks to pay, what? We have the same free will and sovereign as the plan as them. They're not my God. We shall see what transforms. Aussie. Is that how you say it? You came here the other day. Like, you can't stay around long because I got to go work, but we want to play Fortnite. You'll be on tomorrow. All right, yeah, Soulless. Let's try to get a Fortnite. We'll live stream a Fortnite. I haven't played in a while either, so it would be cool to get in, and we'll show everybody how bad we are together. Good to see you, Soulless. Much love. CJ. Au natural. Thank you. A very natural medicine, by the way. Medicine. And if you don't believe me, look up Charlotte's Web Medicine, Denver, Colorado. I think it's Denver. Charlotte was the little girl. These 3 brothers created a strain just for her. It stopped her seizures immediately. Because I feel like people maybe aren't aware. They don't dig as deep as I do. And I also linked down below the government patent that the United States got on cannabis and its medicinal properties. So I would hope people would understand that the government told its people, we have to make this substance illegal. We have to make this plant illegal because it has no medicinal properties. That's what a Schedule 1 means. They have scheduled cannabis, a Schedule 1 drug. That means no medicinal properties, it's very highly addictive, and it's the most dangerous. But that same government, the United States government, in 2003, put a patent on cannabis's medicinal properties. So you got to see that and go, they're hypocrites. There's something else to it. And then once you dig down that rabbit hole, you'll find out how outlawing cannabis was based in racism. Batman, you can literally go out into the street with grown men in a group carrying AR-15s. Yeah, it was. John, thank you. Yeah. If you could walk around in open carry states, I'm pretty sure most of the open carry states, you can walk around with an AR-15, but if you were smoking a joint, the cops, they would swarm you with their military gear. And you'd be like, don't worry, the gun's not loaded. They'd be like, no, it's the joint. Put it down, you dangerous criminal. Does anybody hear what I'm saying? That's fucking nuts. But Joe Rogan, I know you moved from California to Texas to get away from the woke government and the liberals, but your Republicans just made your favorite plant, THC, illegal starting September. I really want to see if Joe will smoke on his podcast after September. And I want to see if those Republicans will go after him because it's illegal. Like I said, if there were some no-name kids doing a podcast that were, whatever, Mexican or black or anything other than white. I'm sure if there were some no-name kids doing a podcast, just a little small podcast, smoking on it in Texas, they would go after him. But Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, I'm sure. I dare you. I double dog dare you, Joe. Proper Joe. Freedom! Freedom, Joe! Free Dumb Joe. Human being, question mark. I like that name, ... Sorry, I gotta go. Thank you for stopping by, Lucy Chen. Dia Ditch, if you speak Irish. Or Schlan. Are you serious? Cannabis is no good, I think. Oh, God. Human being. I want you to get offline right now. Actually, I want you to get off YouTube, and I want you to go look up Charlotte's Web Cannabis, Colorado. And I want you to read the story about the little girl who was having multiple seizures a day. And once she used this cannabis medicine, they stopped immediately. I want you to read about Rick Simpson oil, RSO, okay? There are many, many documented cases of cannabis healing many, many people. And it's sad that we still have this ancient, archaic... Hey, what's up, Timothy? Good to see you, man. If you're out of here, God bless you. Much love and respect. Rick Simpson hates the word marijuana, but doesn't state the word... What? Well, Rick Simpson probably subscribes to what I subscribe. I don't like calling it marijuana or weed. Pot, I guess, is okay. But I call it cannabis because weed and marijuana are, just through the history of the terms, they're rooted in racism. Especially marijuana. So I usually call it cannabis, well, because that's the proper term, and I love that plant. I mean, I'm not a partaker, but I love that plant in general. That plant is a fascinating, magical, given to us by Jesus. You know Jesus, carpenter, probably made some hemp clothes, but it isn't just racism. I think you're right, Batman. That was a weird sentence I just said. I think you're right, Batman. Oh, yes, CJ. Thank you. My God. Thank you, CJ. Please hit subscribe. Hit the like button. I am Rob. I do a live commentary. I comment on the news every weekday. A word that was used to demonize. Correct. Marijuana was. It was racist against, like, Mexicans in the Latin culture. And if you dig into it, there was a great, I think it was a Time magazine, where they did the whole feature on cannabis, its history, Nixon's drug war. And when you dive deep into it, the history of cannabis in this country, it is so fascinating. It's been politicized. It's been used as a weapon. It's been used to criminalize people who were political dissidents. So it is absolutely an incredible tale, and it's important to know the history. Yeah, I wonder why, I don't know. Batman's maybe a young... How old are you, Batman? But thank you, CJ. What I was saying is, please hit subscribe, join the family, join the coalition. I comment on the news, and I always give it to you from a working class perspective, because people like Propa Joe, Free Dumb Joe Rogan, they're having on billionaires and millionaires and guests who lobby and fight to strip your rights every day. They don't care if your medical health care goes away, because they have enough money to pay for their own. They don't care how much anything costs. Eggs, healthcare, school, they don't care, because they have infinite money. They have so much money they could never spend it. And Joe hosts those people to try and sway you to thinking, oh, these millionaires are fighting for me, and they're not, and they're never going to. And we need to come together. And I'm not going to give you that perspective. Joe used to not give you that perspective. And Joe used to question, like, Joe used to use common sense, critical thinking, and the internet in a good way. And now Joe just kind of goes with the program and lets these people really persuade the public that their interests align with the CEO of Walmart, the CEO of these banking firms, like, and yours don't. Your interests don't align. And he's confusing people, and he's persuading people to believe that. And I will never, ever do that. In fact, if I ever got one of his guests on here, I would ask them a whole different line of questioning than Joe does. And I would use the internet much differently. CJ, have a great flirp day. Oh my God. 3 decades young. You are still young. I've seen alcohol ruin lives. Me too. Me 100%. And that's what's really, American culture has fetishized alcoholism. You know, and made it like this cool Friday night thing. Well, why do you think? You know, It's big money. It's big money. And I'm not against it, but I'm against how, you know, they've demonized or the culture has really made people think like, you know, drinking is cool, and if you can't handle it, you know, that's your fault and you're just not in the cool club. Well, really, some of the most fascinating, wonderful, interesting, smart people I've met are people who have been in recovery. They have the craziest stories. They have the most advice and wisdom. The people who have conquered that and fight it every day. And CJ, what I was saying before, sorry, I get distracted, is if you missed the beginning of the live stream, I was saying the names of days are so arbitrary. Why don't we just call Monday Flirps Day? Nobody could get mad if you call Monday Flirps Day. And CJ said, thanks, have a great Flirps Day. Don't say all races matter. What are you talking? Listen, just say like, if you believe humanity matters, then you could say Black Lives Matter. I'm not going into this right now, but if you believe that humans are important and it's not about the color of their skin, then you should support causes when people have been marginalized or people trying to fight for the rights that they have been promised yet never followed through on, that they have been you know, segregated and oppressed. And if you believe humans matter, just like I believe humans matter, so I don't want to see the most vulnerable taken off healthcare or lose their healthcare because they're poor or they can't work a full-time job. I don't think, let me say something very controversial. When Deficit Donald calls people the radical woke left, let me tell you, I'm a radical woke leftist, and I don't think you should have to fucking work a job to have healthcare. I don't think it should be a requirement. That's what they're trying to put in this bill that they're trying to pass. I don't think you need to work. In America, you have to work to get healthcare. That's how you get healthcare, through your work. Why do they do that? So people will work. I think our taxes that we pay every year should pay for that healthcare. And whatever is missed, whatever isn't covered, you tax the people who have the most more. You tax the billionaires because they can't even spend it all. And you tax them, and you make our society better. And nobody should have to work to have healthcare. Nobody. That's what the radical left believes. So when you hear that word, radical left, why don't people, I'm always bummed when somebody says, it's a radical left. I want them to go, what do they believe? Because what we believe is that you shouldn't have to work at a job to be able to see the doctor or have a surgery. That should be paid for by our taxes. Nobody should have to work to be able to stay healthy. No access to any kind of government help. James Joplin, I'm so sorry to say that. He's saying Black Lives Matter didn't focus on Terry Crews there. Oh, I'm missing some of this. My husband has 10 years sober. This weekend? Tell him I said, congratulations, solidarity. I'm right there with you, and much love. I'm very proud of him. Very proud. That's so awesome. I love hearing that. James, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Because that's what we're fighting for. That's what, if you join and I'm commenting on the news and whatever our platform becomes with your support, we are fighting for no American to have to work to see a doctor, to have a surgery, to get access to medicine. We need these giant gatekeepers, the people that withhold a millennia of science information and medical information and cures and medicines. These corporations and these insurance companies withhold that from Americans to make a profit. And that isn't right. And we need to change that. And we can change that. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for spending time with me. And for those who haven't subscribed but stop by, why not? What would you like to see? Give me some feedback. Leave it in the comments after the live. I was thinking about doing a Q&A. There's a couple other things I wanted to do, but the history of cannabis is very interesting, but also infuriating. Anybody who's passionate about the plant has knowledge, history understands its frustration. Zane Strain 420, 100%. I was saying it's deeply rooted in history, racism, and being politicized. And like I said, I have links down below about the government, the U.S. government getting a patent in 2003 on the medicinal properties of it, even though politicians for decades have promised they will decriminalize, legalize it, but it is still a Schedule I drug, which is just a political weapon. That's all it is. Because they know most people who dissent, who criticize the government, smoke weed. That's why Nixon did it, to be able to put his political opponents in jail, or political constituent opponents. That's awesome. Made history. So living wages, tax paid, free healthcare, 4-day work week. CJ, I'll do you one better, a 3-day work week. Fuck 4 days. Everybody should have 4 days to enjoy their life, whatever that is. Video games, I don't give a shit. When you hear Republicans on TV saying there's some 30-year-old living at home in his mom's basement playing video games, he should have to work to get healthcare. He's saying if you don't work, you should be able to die of whatever is ailing you. That is perverted. Those people are demented. And what's the point of technology? Nobody should have to work. Elon Musk, just give us your money. Fuck you. You're not doing anything good with it anyways. All right. Zane Strain. Amen. I wish I could have said it better myself. God bless. Zane, hit the subscribe button. We need more people like you in this community. We need more people bringing awareness to this, because if enough people understand it, then we can push for change. And politicians only get to do what they're doing because some of us, people gave them their vote, said, you can represent me. And they go and then they do whatever they want, nefarious reasons, because, you know, corporations give them dark money. But if we get enough people to, implement these changes, and enough people who are going to run and not take that money and work for the people, then we can have these changes. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. And I appreciate you, and I always appreciate another person who knows the history of cannabis, understands it, loves the plant, and wants to educate further, because this can heal a lot of people. And it's so sad to me, especially in Texas. I can only imagine there are children, there are old folks, there are adults that are very sad because today their medicine was taken away. Coming September, THC is illegal. Joe Rogan, you claim to love the plant, you claim to love freedom and not wanting government telling you what to do. So Joe Rogan, I hope you speak up. I hope you fight against this. Use your platform for good, Joe. You know, what else do you have the platform for? You use it to help oppress people and give Elon his fucking say and make him normalized. Use it for some good. I'm sorry to everybody in Texas who's getting their cannabis taken away. I think that's fucked, because you can come to my state and you're just an adult. You don't have to worry about a criminal charge. So, all right, guys. Happy Flirp Day. Much love. Peace. And hit subscribe. I think I